To the next topic, and that is, look, man, I know JoJo's not here right now, but Bo Nix, man, Bo Nix continues to impress every single week. He's getting better and better. He had an incredible game against the Atlanta Falcons. And I know some of you are going to be like, oh, Atlanta's defense isn't that great. I know you're going to be like Gabe, who said a couple weeks ago when I said Bo Nix was my player highlight for that week, but he played against the Carolina Panthers. I was like, look, man, you need those games. You need those games that's going to make you feel like, hey, I belong in this league. Granted, yeah, it's the Carolina Panthers, whatever. But now we're seeing it against do it against a playoff team, a team in lead of the NFC North in the Atlanta Falcons, a team that's been playing really well with Kirk Cousins. This Denver team, man, is getting scary. I thought they did start off the season pretty slow. I was like, this might be a rough year for the Broncos, but man, they've turned it around. I mean, obviously they had the very disappointing loss against the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, but they bounced back big against a solid team. Like, this is a good Atlanta team, and they defensively shut them down, and then they did what they had to do. And I will say this, look, I know it's way, 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 way too early to say this, and I'm mostly speaking on the style of play, but it looks like Sean Payton has somebody who kind of has that similar style of play, but younger Drew Brees. Obviously, not at the Drew Brees level yet, but when I watch Bo Nix play with this system, it reminds me a lot of New Orleans. It looks like Sean Payton is finally starting to implement what he used to back in the day with Drew Brees in New Orleans. I think he's going to continue to improve. He's looking really good. Let me pull up the stats that he had for this game. He had 28 completions, 33 attempts. He had an 84% completion rate, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, only sacked 1 time. He had a 145 rating. The guy has he's been playing well. Like I said, he's continuing to impress. I think there was something that, let me pull up the exact games. So they started off 1-3, and then they went on a 5-1 run. No, my bad. They started off with the first 2 losses, then they won 3 in a row. Yeah, so they won 5-1 in that middle streak, and then they lost to Baltimore, Kansas City, which is a tough ask. But then you look at that Kansas City game, it's like one play away, they actually win that game, and then they beat a pretty good Atlanta team. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. I tell you what, the rookie class is looking pretty damn good. I mean, Caleb Williams looks good. Jaden Daniels, to me, still probably the best rookie right now and has been the most consistent. And then you got this guy, Bo Nix, who's starting to play well. And look, man, we even saw a little bit of Michael Penix in this game towards the end when they decided to bench Kirk Cousins, and he had a couple plays. But, yeah, what do you think of Bo Nix and just the Denver Broncos in general?
I mean, see, because you were hype on the chat with us, because this is a game I completely ignored. I mean, I'm not going to jump on the hype train. Like, I'm going to be, I'm going to pump the brakes kind of guy. Like, this is his first, looking at his game log, this is his first, 300-plus yardage. Obviously, he threw four touchdowns. And his next biggest performance, like you said, was the Carolina game, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where he threw 284 with three touchdowns. It's fine. Like, if he's, obviously playing better than the first couple of weeks was horrendous. I think he was really bad. They were just like, oh, well, was this guy worth it? He's been picking it up better, but I don't think he's like maybe at best he's a mid-tier quarterback, maybe. But I'm not very hype on. I'm not watching a lot of Broncos games.
To me, he's not saying he's been incredible. Like, I don't think he's been at the Jaden Daniels level, but it's seeing the progression from what I've seen from watching from the beginning of the season and seeing how he is looking really good. And, man, he's got an arm, because this man, I saw him throwing absolute lines. I know you said you didn't get the chance to see that game, but the dude is throwing absolute lines, and he looks good, and he's accurate, and he can kind of move out of the pocket. Like I said, it looks like kind of what they wanted the Russell Wilson idea to become, but didn't really work out for whatever reason that might be. But look, man, I'm impressed by him. I think he's playing super well. I'm curious to see how well they look going forward. I'll tell you what, Broncos 6-5 was not on my radar when I was making these predictions for the season. They are a legitimate playoff contender and obviously not a contender in the AFC West in general, but I mean, AFC West is pretty strong, man. Obviously the Raiders are down bad right now, but you have the Chargers, who have been quietly having a good season that no one's talking about, I feel, at least in my opinion. And this Broncos team that looks strong, and they're pushing the Chiefs to the limits. Both teams, obviously, the Chiefs are somehow, by the grace of the football gods, letting them win this game. Except finally, they didn't. But we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I'm impressed by him. I think he's been super good, and I like what this little Broncos team they got going. I think defensively, man, they are good. They're holding up really well. I would like to see maybe one more weapon from them. I think Cortland Sutton is starting to kind of come into his own with Bo Nix, but I think having one more player would help them a little bit more. But obviously, this is kind of like the middle of a rebuild, and so far they're starting off super strong.